get this desire done or this intention done. And then the inner self is just sitting there and it says, okay, but then what? And I got another one. And okay, but then what? So you hear this over and over until you finally start realizing what, it should be a clue that we should start observing and examining and then thinking about what our desires are really bringing. Mm-hmm. Are they really satisfying us? And what's the cost to fulfill some of these things? And as soon as you feel big or small ones, what happens next is you want something else. There's always something else, something else. It never ends. It's like desires are like a forest fire. They just burn through all the forest, moving from one tree to another, from one desire to the other. And the inner self keeps saying, okay, but then what? But I don't think most people listen to that at all, don't hear that at all. Having said all that does not mean we're going to stop having desires. There's no way to not have desires. Even Christ said, ask and it will be given to you. So it's not desire itself that's wrong, it's the quality of the desire, overvaluing the desire. So our idea is to try to understand the correct value, and that takes meditation, concentration, introspection, all those kind of things. And the most dangerous desires are the ones that don't get fulfilled, because they keep coming to us and troubling us. Say you want something that's just not possible in this lifetime under your current conditions to have, but if you keep desiring it, it just comes as a torture over and over and over, and it doesn't leave you alone. And until you let that unfulfilled desire go. But is that an easy thing? Now, you've probably all heard this, and I've experienced it too many times to count. If you grab a hold of a hot electrical wire, you can't let go of it. It's like that with these desires. It's there, and you know you're supposed to let go of it, but you can't. It just seems like you can't let go of it. And oftentimes, when you get a desire filled, that's not really what I was looking for. I want this other thing. So we're all looking for something, and it just seems like an eternity of experiences like this. Our life is nothing but an eternity of experiences like this.
Daniel, they say observe your desires because they're going to be fulfilled or accomplished at some point. Do you think that even if it's not in this life, all desires will in some point come to you?
And all desires, they will never go away until they're either fulfilled or de-energized. Mm-hmm. So it's smart to start de-energizing now, because we talk about the circles of possibilities, which is our whole circle of life, but the circle of probabilities we're creating in our life, and they're created by our desires, thoughts, feelings, and everything. So what we really need to do is to try to bring down all those circles of probabilities, because once we start them, we have to run through the whole thing to fulfill it, to complete it. And every time we do that, it just delays us longer. So it's not wrong to do some of them, but just make sure you're doing some that are really valuable, something that counts, something meaningful. But forsaking oneself to something needless is just the path of unhappiness. So, again, the inner self is like that center that receives the impression from everything around us and interprets it rightly. But the personality is receiving the very same impressions, but because of its influence of its egotism, misinterprets what's happening. Same impressions, but just misinterpreted. And as long as we remain under the influence of the egotism, we will keep doing this. And the impressions at best will be distorted. But as long as we can stay connected to the inner self, then we interpret things rightly, without distortion. And that brings peace, stability, and true self-dignity. Egotism brings pride, self-aggrandizement, but the inner self brings self-dignity, which is a very different thing. So what we're really trying to do, if I could just make a simple analogy of all those words, is like that inner self is the center of receiving impressions. And when we make the present day personality that same center, boom, That's the self-realization. So ultimately what we're trying to do is make the two centers the same. Now, beyond the worlds of duality, there are these non-dual states of beingness, not existence. Some, not all Buddhists believe that there is ultimately a state of nothing. Everything just goes to nothing. Everything came from nothing, goes to nothing. But nothing, you will never see anything that comes from nothing. There's always a cause and effect in the thing. So nothingness, they think of it as a complete annihilation of things. No interest, no impressions of anything. Abandoning everything life offers us. As if this is even possible. But you don't see that. You never see where that is, because everything is coming from the divine laws, causes, and principles in this state of beingness, in this higher state, beyond the worlds of existence, which means the noetic state. In other words, we're leaving the restricted meanings of time, space, and place, of past, present, and future completely behind. There we will spread ourselves in the concept and ideas. This means we leave the world of illusion and into the reality of the world behind illusion. Now we're just touching on it, but one day we will permanently enter that state, where everything we've ever done, felt, or thought is perfectly recorded and preserved in the Akashic records, eternally. Where everything anyone's ever thought about doing or felt is perfectly recorded for eternity. So in this divine state, and it is a divine eternal state, it should be called everythingness, not nothingness, as some imagine. And even the Christian church believes that when we as a mortal personality self experience the immortal soul self, the mortal personality self is annihilated. But this cannot be, because it would mean that our development as a personality would be lost. So there would be no progress between incarnations or between time periods in the single incarnation. No purpose for gain of the personality. What's the point of going through this if we all go back to nothing? There's just no point in it. It makes no sense. And so there'd be no point in finding the real self. And finding our real self just simply means we transfer our sense of self as a self-awareness from the personality to the inner self. From the constantly changing personality to the constantly stable inner self.